I am going to show you why shadow work feels so hard and how understanding your triggers can slowly set you free from the emotions that keep controlling your life. The reason you should listen to me is that I walked through a deeply painful relationship, a painful divorce, and a love that left me devastated. And doing this inner work changed how I respond to almost everything. I will deliver it in three parts. First, why shadow work feels uncomfortable and why that is normal. Second, how your triggers control you before you heal them. And third, how shadow work gives you real peace, not by making you numb, but by making you aware. If you have ever said something from anger or pain and then wish you could take it back, this video is for you. If you have ever been triggered by a word, a tone, a message, or a look, and your whole body just reacted before you had even had time to think, this video is for you. And if you have ever wondered, why do I keep reacting this way? Why can't I just stay calm? Why does this one thing send me straight into overwhelm? I want you to hear something kind. You are not broken. You are not too emotional. You are triggered. And triggers come from wounds that were never fully healed. I know this because I live it. I was married to someone who studied me. He knew exactly what to say to make me react. He knew which words would make me angry, which silence would make me panic, which moments would make me lose my calm completely. And for a long time, he used that. Because when I reacted, he was in control. And I did not even know it was happening. When I finally started doing inner work, shadow work, something shifted. Not overnight, but slowly. The same situations started getting smaller. The same triggers started losing their grip. In this video, I'm going to show you why shadow work feels so hard, why your triggers control you before you heal them, and what changes when you start to understand yourself from the inside. Stay with me until the end because I'm going to share the one question that changed how I see every reactions I have. It is simple, but it is powerful. Let us begin. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Doorway Healing. I'm so glad you are here. If this is your first time, this is a safe and gentle space for women who are healing after painful love. My name is Adrienne, and I'm here to walk this healing journey with you. Today's doorway is for the woman who is tired of reacting before she can think and is ready to understand what is actually happening inside her when she gets triggered. Shadow work feels hard because it asks you to look at the part of yourself you usually try to avoid. Most of us want to believe we are good people, and we are. But good people still carry difficult emotions. Shadow work asks you to look at jealousy, anger, resentment, bitterness, fear. The part of you that feels messy or uncomfortable or painful. And honestly, that is not easy to look at because most of us were never taught that these emotions are okay. We were taught to be positive, to forgive quickly, to move on, to not let things affect us. But when we feel jealous, we feel ashamed. When we feel angry, we feel guilty. When we feel bitter, we tell ourselves we should over it by now. And so instead of looking at these emotions, we push them down. We cover them up. We pretend they are not there. But here is the thing about emotions you try to hide. They do not go away. They just go deeper and then they come out sideways as reactions, as triggers, as moments you later regret. I remember sitting across from him one day and he said something I felt my whole body go tight. The anger came up so fast, I could not think. I could not stay calm. I just reacted. And the moment I reacted, he had what he wanted. My reaction gave him the power. Because people who want to control you do not control you with force. They control you by learning your patterns. They push the same button over and over. And as long as those buttons still work, they are in control. Shadow work is not about becoming a darker person. It is about becoming an honest person. It is about looking at the emotions you carry, not to shame yourself for them, but to understand them. Because when you understand something, you can begin to heal. Having difficult emotions does not make you a bad person. It makes you human. But here is where it gets important. Because when you do not understand your emotions, they start to run your life. And that is what I want to talk about next. Every day, life gives you things that can trigger you. A word, a tone, a message, a person, a situation that reminds you of something painful. And when you do not understand what it is happening inside you, these triggers control you. You react before you can think. You feel overwhelmed by things that seem small. You say things from pain and then wish you had not. You spiral when someone goes quiet. You overthink everything. And the most painful part, you are not reacting to what is actually happening. You are reacting to an old wound. When someone is distant and you panic, that is not about them. That is about an old wound that says, people I love always leave. When someone criticizes you and you shut down completely, that is not about the criticism. That is about an old wound that says, I'm not good enough. When someone ignores you and you spiral, that is not about their silence. That is an old wound that says, I'm not worth showing up for. Your triggers are not random. Your triggers are mapped to your wounds. 3 signs your triggers are running your life. Sign 1. You react very quickly and very strongly to things that others seem to handle calmly. Sign 2. After the reaction, you feel ashamed or confused why it happened. Sign 3. The same triggers keep happening over and over. Different person, same pain. If you recognize yourself in any of those, that is not a judgment, that is an invitation. I saw this in my own life during my painful marriage. I would get triggered so fast. The anger, the pain, and the frustration would rise up, and I could not think clearly in those moments. I did not understand at the time that I was not just reacting to what was being said. I was reacting to every time before that when I had felt unseen, not safe, not enough. And until I started doing inner work, those old reactions kept showing up because I had not healed the wound underneath them. So what actually changes when you begin shadow work? That is part 3. And this is where the relief comes in. Here is what I want you to understand about shadow work. The goal is not to become emotionless. The goal is not to become numb. The goal is not to never feel pain again. The goal is stop being ruled by emotions you have never understood. When you begin to do this work, something slowly shifts. The same triggers may still come. The same person may still say the same thing. The same situation may still happen. But your response starts to change. The emotion rises, but it also settles. The feeling comes, but it no longer takes over. You feel it, but you are not swallowed by it. You begin to pause. You begin to breathe. You begin to ask, why did this affect me so much? This is the question I promised you at the start. It changed everything for me. When I get triggered, I now ask myself, what old wound just got touched? Not, why is this person so awful? Not, what did I do wrong? But what inside me is hurting right now and why? That one question slows everything down. It moves you from reaction into reflection. And reflection is where healing lives. And today, he cannot trigger me the same way anymore. Not because I stopped feeling, but because I did the work. I started to understand what those reactions were really about. I started to heal the wounds underneath them. And slowly, the button stopped working. He did not change, I did. And when your patterns heal, people who used to control you through those patterns lose their power. Not because you fought them, but because you came back to yourself. You still feel, but the feelings move through you instead of taking over you. And that is the peace that shadow work gives you. Not a life with no hard moments, but a life where hard moments no longer have the power to destroy what you have built inside. This week, I want you to try something simple. The next time you get triggered, before you react, before you respond, pause and ask yourself one question. What old wounds just got touched? You do not have to answer it perfectly. Just ask it. Because the moment you start asking that question, you have already begun the work. Let us bring it all together. Shadow work feels hard because it asks you to look at the part of yourself you usually hide. That is uncomfortable, but it is also where healing begins. Your triggers are not random, they are mapped to old wounds. And when those wounds are unhealed, they control how you react to people, to situations, to everything. But when you start doing shadow work, when you start asking why, something shifts. The same emotions arise, but they no longer run your life. You stop reacting and start responding, and slowly your inner world become a place you actually feel safe inside. If this video touched something in you, if you recognize yourself in any part of what I shared, I want you to drop a comment and write, "I'm learning to understand myself." Just those words, because that is what shadow work is. It is learning to understand yourself with kindness, not judgment. You are not too emotional. You are not too sensitive. You are someone who was wounded and never taught how to understand the wound, and now you are learning. That is brave. I have a free guide called the Doorway Guide, 7 gentle steps to stop waiting in pain and then come back to yourself. The link is below. It is free and it's gentle. If this video helped you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe so you do not miss what is coming next. You are not broken, you are becoming aware. And awareness is where everything begins.